evening, everyone. Myself, Sumit Kabra from ARA Global and S-Cubes. It's my honor that Mr. Simarpreet and Hate Group gave me an opportunity to moderate this program, along with the Honorable Sir, Mr. Hariharan. It's a great altruism what Hate Group is doing on the humanitarian ground. It's remarkable. Mr. Hariharan, sir, is a founder and director of Savior Fa. It's a consulting and a training firm since last 3 decades. It's a consulting and a training programs doing since last 3 decades in the field of skill development, strategic development, on the people alignment, and many others. By qualification, he is a chartered accountant, and also he chose to be in field of operation. He has the credentials in many sectors like FMCG, automobiles, heavyweight industries, banks, and etc. I am proud to say he has been awarded as the best consulting company in the lean management by the Ministry of MSME. He has been developed a path-breaking tools like 3D Quadrant, PIDRUM, and Daksham. I'm sure it's very exciting to hear these kind of tools and learn about it. I won't take much of the time and hand over it over to Sir Mr. Hariharan. Sir, your stage, please.
Thanks, Sumit. Can I share the screen? You could see the screen, Sumit?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Yeah, okay. Is my audio audible? Without disturbance?
It's audible, it's audible.
Yeah. I'm setting the time for about 45 minutes so that I will not overshoot. Okay. And then we can have the Q&A after that.
Perfect, sir.
Is that fine? Okay.
Yes, sir. Perfect. Please go ahead.
Good evening, friends. So happy to see so many of you. The too late evening today on a Friday evening. With that lockdown getting lifted in many places, it is tough to actually log in on a Friday evening for a program. Thank you so much for being there. So the topic we have chosen is looking at leadership in crisis. Everybody is facing a crisis now. So we are all sailing in the same boat. Of course, the boat has a hole in that. That's the only problem we have. And in this kind of a crisis, we have to either innovate or we have to perish. So how design thinking as a domain or as a skill set can enable us to overcome this and develop the leadership skills which are necessary for this. So I divide this presentation into broadly 4 parts. The first part is what triggers the crisis, is what I'm going to start with. Second is drawing something from the ancient wisdom, some lessons from ancient wisdom on leadership. Then third, we'll peep into what is design thinking, what are the key principles of design thinking. And then we'll correlate design thinking, how do we apply design thinking to address this leadership crisis. There's a broad 4 agenda I have for this discussion. So if you look at the crisis, what triggers the crisis? What makes our organization struggle to find next leaders? In many organizations, we find it very difficult to get the next leader. So that who is that next person is always a question every time, you know. When a captain of a cricket team retires, who is going to be the next one? So when the captain of the ship desires whether the mate can become the ship captain, who is going to be the next one? So what actually triggers the crisis is, are we really nurturing leaders in our organization? So there are 5 perspectives I am trying to share here. The first perspective is, are we developing leaders or are we developing dolphin managers? So what do I call as dolphin managers? Some of you might have gone to Singapore Zoo. In the dolphin lagoon, you might have seen the dolphin comes, it does some routines, it does some exercises. And then that guy who's taking care of the dolphin feeds the dolphin with fish, it clicks and goes away. So the dolphin performs knowing pretty well it is going to get some kind of a benefit at the end of the whole thing. If I'm going to try to motivate my senior managers based on the same kind of a dolphin way, I'm not going to develop leaders, I'm going to develop dolphins. If I'm going to measure the performance based on quarterly performance, half-yearly performance, and say you got a variable pay based on that, I'm going to measure your performance, I don't expect any senior manager to take a decision which is long-term. One of the biggest problem I find in organization is the concept of variable pay going up to across all the levels of organization, including the top level. At the top level, if I'm going to say I'm going to motivate the top guy with the variable pay, I'm sorry, I don't think this is going to work. We're not going to evince any long-term decisions from somebody at the senior level. So leaders have to have a long-term vision. If my performance metric is going to prevent that leader from looking at a long-term vision, then I'm going to have only dolphin managers. The second critical part is, are we developing lateral? Wait a minute. I'm not trying to say we should not have short-term performance measures. Short-term is important. Sorry, short-term is urgent, but long-term is important. So therefore, there's always a flip side for that performance metric. That's the point I'm trying to make. The second is, we are so fond of compliance. We want lateral thinking or linear thinking. Are we looking at managers who are going to be thinking out of the box, or are we looking at managers who are going to be inside the box? Are we promoting compliance or commitment? Commitment to your cause, but compliance to your process. Again, I am not trying to say don't follow a process, but we end up what you call developing managers or something like this. A nurse has been trained to wake up a patient very politely. So the nurse wakes up the patient. Hey, patient, please wake up. You have to take the sleeping pill and sleep. Please wake up. We end up having managers who end up waking up sleeping patients. When we are trying to develop logical thinking, linear thinking, the danger is going to be we cannot be in a position to come up with solutions when there is a crisis. We need lateral thinkers. The third is specifically, are we learning or are we repeating? Let me explain. Just have a look at this video.
What do you take from today's match? Experience is not playing more matches. Experience is learning from matches you play. You can play 30 matches, and if you don't learn anything, it's like playing the same match 30 times. But the people who improve, the people who get better, are the ones who learn from each and every game, who get to know themselves better. Right? So all of you, whether you won or lost, it is not a day wasted. A lot of times people get disappointed. Oh, we lost the match. Oh, we didn't play well. I scored 0. But that doesn't matter. You've had an experience. What have you learned from that experience? What have you learned from watching somebody else bat? Somebody scored 100 today, somebody scored a 90. Even if you have not scored runs, you can learn something from watching them. That is what will help you. All of you are young. It's a journey. These are just experiences. There's no good and bad. People get disappointed very quickly.
What a word of wise words from somebody like Rahul Dravid. Learning is what experience is all about, not repeating. 1 year experience repeated 18 times is not experience. Are we doing a continuity or a continuum is what we have to look at. Continuum is different from continuity. Continuum is primarily, I do 4 things A, and then I do B, and then I move to C, then I move to D. A and B, there's a slight difference. B and C, there's a slight difference. C and D, there's a slight difference. But A and D should be totally different. Meaning, how do I evolve is very important as a leader. So is my organization motivating us to learn? In fact, everybody has got an uncle who knows everything. I have one. So he actually knows many things. He used to work in L&T. So every time I do something new in my assignment or any of my engagement, I go and tell him, Uncle, I did something new in this assignment. Immediately he replies, I did this in L&T in 1973. He used to get annoyed. What is this? Whatever I say, you're telling I've done in L&T in 1973, 1972, 1960. He made a very interesting statement. He said, in L&T, we are allowed to do mistakes. What a powerful statement it is. Are we tolerant enough to allow mistakes? Do we allow our managers to do mistakes? No, it is not like as a hobby, I keep on collecting mistakes. Hey, how many mistakes you did? I made 7 mistakes. I made 8. I learned more. Not like that. The point is, how much you're able to learn from your mistakes and others' mistakes is what a leader is going to be all about. Learning or repeating is what we need to check in our context of organization. The fourth trigger for the crisis, in my opinion, is are we mentoring or tormenting? Let me explain the word torment a little bit more carefully. Torment is not necessarily what you call tormenting negatively. Sometimes we become overprotective of our managers. When I'm overprotective of our managers, I don't expect the managers to take any decision in the time of crisis. Quite often you find this happening, if you look at what you call, I'm a CEO of a company, I'm a owner CEO. I started this company. I'm technically qualified. I'm an engineer. I'm walking in my shop floor. Suddenly I find two of the employees are struggling to what you call repair the machine. Immediately I roll my sleeves and then get into this with all the grease in my hand. I repair the equipment. At the end of the whole thing, I tell them, guys, this is the way you should do it. This is not management. This is actually tormenting because you are becoming too overprotective. And the worst part is, end of the day, I will go back and tell my wife, you know what? These guys, engineers these days, they don't understand anything. I repaired it. What's the big deal? You are not supposed to repair it. So many times, are we being overprotective of our employees? Are we being overprotective of our managers? This is one extreme of tormenting. Other extreme is the real tormenting. I am afraid that this guy will overshoot me. I create a glass ceiling and don't allow that guy to go beyond that glass ceiling. So then this again perpetrates a crisis of not having the next level leaders. The next one is primarily the trigger of the crisis is doing things is different from getting things done. Are we doing things or we get things done? No, I'm not trying to say you should not do things. You should do things. But a good a good leader has to develop the next leader. Are we developing next leaders in our organization? If I am not developing the next leader in my organization, a crisis is waiting to brew. In fact, I very clearly remember once Mr. C. Narasimhan, one of my gurus, in fact, the man who brought Deming Award to India. He was taken by Sundaram Clayton. So Venu Srinivasan asked him, so now that he joined this company, he joined at the age of 53, 54. What is your first job you're going to do? Mr. Narasimhan said, I have to identify my next CEO. See, that is leadership. So it is very crucial for us to look at how do I develop the next leaders? We can develop the next leaders only when we get things done rather than doing everything ourselves. So typical crisis, in all these cases, I'm making it very clear. I'm not trying to say performance metric is bad. No, but be aware of the flip side of performance metric. I'm not trying to say linear thinking is bad. It is required for continuity. But you need to be a lateral thinker for understanding how you're going to maneuver. Learning should be the basis. Repeating is also crucial, but learning should be the basis for a leader. I have to mentor my next level leaders, or am I tormenting the leaders? Am I getting things done or am I doing it? These are all the typical ingredients which perpetrate the crisis. Now let us go to the second theme of what I'm discussing, which is what lessons we can learn from ancient wisdom. And when I say ancient wisdom, I'm not romantically going to ancient wisdom. In fact, most of the points I'm going to make now have been talked about. Drucker has been talked about. Ramcharan has been talked about. Howbrath. Many people have talked about the points what I'm going to say now, but I'm drawing it extremely squarely from ancient wisdom. When you think of Ramayana, there are many leaders in Ramayana. When we see leader, immediately we think of Ram. But remember, even your team should have leaders. Even if you're an individual running a company, you should be a leader, which is very crucial. In my opinion, one of the greatest leaders Ramayana has got is Hanuman. Hanuman is not just implementer. Is it only implementing? No. Hanuman took a lot of decisions. Leadership calls for taking decisions. He took the decision to go to Lanka. He took the decision to fight with the demons there. After meeting Sita, he took the decision to burn Lanka. He took decisions everywhere. He took the decision to go to bring the Sanjeevi. So Hanuman took decisions. Leaders should take decisions. So there are 5 qualities of Hanuman which Valmiki Ramayana talks about. Let me get into that. Hanuman was crossing the ocean. When he was crossing the ocean, you can see him crossing the ocean. Yeah. So when he was crossing the ocean, a few birds flying around, they're telling, hey, look at this person. He's capable of achieving anything in life because he has got 4 qualities. What are those 4 qualities which Hanuman had according to them? The 4 qualities they talked about was Dhriti, Drishti, Mati, Dakshyam. Dhriti is courage. Drishti is vision. A leader should have courage fundamentally. Without courage, you cannot take a decision. Without courage, you cannot have a vision. Number 2, vision, drishti. Mati, intellect. We should have that intellect working, the IQ part of it. Dakshyam. Dakshyam is capability to implement. In fact, Sumit, when he started, he talked about one of the models. Dakshyam is what we implement. The Dakshyam has come from this Dakshyam. Dakshyam is strategy implementation. So, yasya tvetani chatvari vanarendra yathatava dhriti drishti matir dakshyam swakarmasu na sidati. This is the 4 traits which Valmiki talks about for Hanuman. Whoever has the 4 qualities of courage, are we encouraging courage? If I am looking at my leader to have a long-term vision, he should have courage. If I'm going to measure him based on short-term performance, and if the short-term performance is not doing well, I will not have the guts to take the decision. Toyota way first principle, don't compromise on long-term for short-term financial gains. Don't compromise on long-term for short-term financial gains. You need courage. You need courage to achieve that. Vision is drishti, mati is intellect, and dakshyam is skill to implement. But if you look at all these 4, a little bit courage comes from EQ, vision, intellect, and skill comes from IQ predominantly. EQ, all of you know that EQ is how important EQ is. Leaders should have more EQ than simply IQ. And where the emotional quotient comes from? Emotional quotient comes from equanimity. Are you equipoised? Are you stoic? Are you having that kind of a sthita prajna mindset in your mind? Hanuman goes to Lanka. He was searching for Sita. He could not find Sita anywhere. When he could not find Sita anywhere, he was despondent, almost given up. At that time, he motivates himself. He motivates himself to say that, hey, this is not on for me. If I'm going to have this kind of a mindset, I don't think I'm going to achieve anything. He says that non-depression is very important. He motivates himself. The non-depression comes from high emotional quotient. Anirveda shriyo moolam, anirveda param sukam, anirvedo hi satatam sarvarteshu pravartataha. So the 5th quality, what Hanuman talks about himself, is that non-depression is the root of development. See, look at it carefully. I may have courage, I may have vision, I may have the skill to implement, I may have the intellect as well. But look at this current situation of COVID. In the current situation of COVID, we get depressed. You go to WhatsApp group, you find people posting every day about COVID. They wake up in the morning, immediately take the mobile and check how many people died. What is the point in seeing that? It's not going to help in any way. It's going to only aggravate the whole situation. So depression is the root cause of many evils. Non-depression is the root of development. And the absence of despondency is the greatest comfort. And self-reliance is indeed is a promoter in all these matters. The self-reliance here he talks about is primarily, I should rely on myself. If I am the leader, I am in charge of the ship. If I am going to be despondent, how am I going to motivate my team? Anirveda shriyo moolam anirveda param sukam. Anirvedo hi satatam sarvarteshu pravartataha. He goes on further to say that tasmat anirveda. This kind of non-depression is what is important for putting the best effort together. So we talk about, whenever we think about Dhoni, we always say that hey, Dhoni is so cool in a crisis. Non-depression. If you show, you cannot have the depression at that point of time. Another classic case is Sehwag. When people ask him, hey, you missed the first ball, how come you are able to hit the next ball for a 6? Oh, the first ball is gone. Why should you think about that? That is EQ. It doesn't come from IQ. So the 5 principles or traits is primarily Dhriti, Drishti, Mati, Dakshyam, Anirveda. But a leader, when he's there, you need somebody to actually support the leader also. Am I correct? You need other leaders below you to take your organization forward. So that's what Drucker says. A leader is one who can create his next leader. Ram Charan tells the same thing. You have to create your next leaders, which is very important. So let us look at this particular thing from Mahabharata. You could guess who is this person sitting here? Dhritarashtra is sitting, and Sanjay is giving him live commentary. The first live commentary was done by him. And Sanjay was only giving commentary. He never gave any of his opinion in this Mahabharata. He gives his opinion only once. Only once Sanjay gives his opinion. There is a last shloka of Bhagavad Gita. When he says, it is my opinion. He signs off and says, it is my opinion. Matir mama, this is my opinion. What is my opinion? Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara Tatra Sri Vijayaha Bhuti Dhruvanitir Matir mama. What does that mean? Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, where Yogeshwara Krishna is there. Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara, where Dhanurdhara Partha is there. Tatra, there. Sri, wealth. Vijayaha, victory. Bhuti, fame. Dhruva Niti, impartial justice, will prevail. Matir mama, my opinion. So you can read it for yourself. For an organization to strive and survive and excel, you need a strategic direction giver, and you need somebody who is going to be a support as well. Krishna has got multiple names given to him in Mahabharata and Bhagavatam also. Vasudeva Krishna, Govardhana Krishna, so many names for Krishna. But here Sanjay uses the word Yogeshwara Krishna. What is this Yogeshwara Krishna? In fact, Krishna defines yoga in one way in Mahabharata. Some people say it is two ways. He says two definitions he has given. In my opinion, it's only one definition is given, where he says that Samatvam Yoga Uchyati. Equanimity is yoga. A leader's mindset has to be equipoised. So he has to have equanimity. He cannot be wavered by what's happening around him. Yogeshwaraha, the one who is able to have that conquering that trait is a Yogeshwara. A leader has to have that Yogeshwara mindset. Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara. Even the Partha has got multiple names. Arjun, Dhananjay, Sabhyashashi, ambidextrous. But here using the word Dhanurdhara. Dhanurdhara means he is always ready to shoot. He knows the consequences of what's going to happen. Like Theodore Levitt said, Kuntz said, management is getting things done by other people. That is not Drucker's quote. That is Kuntz quote. Management is getting things done by other people. That means other people should know what that is. In fact, I draw a lot from ancient wisdom. I'm so blessed in that sense to have access to two of the oldest languages the world has seen, Sanskrit and Tamil. In Tamil, there is one very old testament called Tirukkural. There he talks about delegation elaborately. Idanal ivan mudikkum endraindu adanai avan kan vidal. Meaning, identify this person can do it with this, give the job to him and get it done. So Dhanurdhara is required for it to get the things done. Is your organization having that capability of developing the next leaders? With a Yogeshwara to lead and a Dhanurdhara to shoot. Then you have wealth, you have victory, you have fame, you have impartial justice, which is required for governance. Impartial justice is nothing but governance. We talk about ESG these days, environment, society, and governance. The corporate governance is what the Dhruva Niti is. So if I can summarize Hanuman's skills, it is courage, vision, intellect, skill, and non-depression. Now let us go to key design thinking principles. Let us jump to design thinking. We have been talking about Hanuman, nothing wrong in jumping. Then we will combine these two, that becomes easier, right? He is called as a guru of design thinking, Tim Brown. This is a very simple definition he has given. Thinking like a designer can transform the way you develop products, services, and processes, and even strategy. So what is this thinking like a designer? What do you mean by thinking like a designer? A designer, by its very nature, has to be a solution-oriented person, not a problem-oriented person. Designing is not engineering. Engineering is an implementation of a designer's idea. You cannot ask an engineer to come with some brilliant ideas. Engineer is not going to come with an idea unless you have a design mindset. A designer is a solution person. A designer should have the shamelessness to fail. I'm using the word shamelessness. You should have the kid's enthusiasm to experiment. So, what is that design thinking mindset all about? It's a discipline that uses designer sensibility and methods. The sensibility of a designer is to fail fast, fail safe. Sensibility of a designer is to empathize with others. This word empathy has to be understood clearly. It's totally different from sympathy. For empathy, there are three fundamental requirements for empathy to have a complete cycle. I call it as 3 A's of empathy. A is aware. I am aware of this problem. For example, I am going in my car. Opposite direction, there is a biker going. It is raining heavily. Mumbai-Pune expressway. He slips and falls down. Of course, I can take a U-turn. If there's a U-turn coming up ahead, I can take a U-turn and come and pick him up also. Am I responsible for him? I'm not responsible for him falling down, but I have a responsibility of seeing to it that he is taken care of. But wait a minute, I'm actually rushing to attend to something much more urgent. I have to admit my friend to a hospital. He is in my backseat. I can't waste even a single minute. Then I will go away. But if I don't take the responsibility of, yes, I am responsible for that guy who fell also, I will not even think of taking action here. So the base for empathy is aware. I am aware and I am able to articulate the problem. Then I have action. Aware, articulate, act are the 3 A's of empathy. Sensibility of a designer has to come from these 3 A's of empathy. Of course, there are many methods a designer uses. What? To meet people's needs with what is technologically feasible and viable as a business. It is perspiration. It is not simplistically a wild thought. It is hard work. Like Thomas Alva Edison says, which Tim Brown also quotes, 99% perspiration, 1% inspiration is what design is also all about. So let us look at this definition very carefully. What is this innovation all about? We talk about innovate or perish. There are 3 specific words which are very crucial here. The first word is match people's need. My solution has to meet the real needs of people. It should be people desirable. Number 2, it should be technically feasible, so it should win. Number 3, it should be a viable business strategy. It should be worth it. This is not, the 3 circles is not my funda. It is a funda of my guru, Eppinger, Professor Eppinger from MIT. So innovation is nothing but a solution which is real, win and worth it. A solution which is real, but I can't implement, it is a dream. A solution is real, I can implement also, it is not profitable, I think we are doing charity. A thing which is real, win and worth it is innovation. And innovation has to be real, win, worth it. Therefore, design thinking has to come with solutions which are real, win and worth it. What are the elements of design thinking? Something very interesting in this slide. Look at from where I have taken this slide. Just look at the bottom here. Something very interesting. Design Thinking, the guidebook of Royal Civil Service Commission, Bhutan. Please go to internet and search for paperless office in Bhutan. And Bhutan has used design thinking to create paperless office in Bhutan. Amazing. Okay, so what are the elements of design thinking? The first element of design thinking is human-centric. Design thinking has to be human-centric. You are creating solutions for humanity. Hey, that means I'm an animal activist. That means I cannot do design thinking. Of course, human-centric means having the basic mindset of a human being. It is collaborative teamwork. It is not individual driving a furrow. But the point is, ideas can be from individual, but you have to create an idea which is going to be culled out from everybody around. Number 3, it should be learning by doing. So one of the key parts of a design thinker is he has to create pilots and then do it. If you keep doing, then you are able to come with solutions. And 4th, embrace experimentation. Extremely, extremely important part of a mindset or sensibility of a design thinker. You should embrace experimentation. Means I should not be afraid of failing. That courage of not failing is very important for a design thinker. In fact, a design thinker, if he fails, he'll be happy. Wow, I found one more way of how not to do things. Understand patterns, relationships, and systems. This is very, very crucial for design thinker. If you look at very carefully, all of us are having the design mindset. Think about very carefully. A 2 or 3-year-old kid, how the small kid is able to learn languages. It understands languages from the patterns, relationships, and the systems. Think about very carefully. It looks at the facial expression of the mother and the way she is talking, and then it picks up the sound and then is able to form sentences. A small kid, how a kid which doesn't know any language is able to learn language from nothing. It is primarily because the small kid is able to understand patterns. A small kid is highly creative. Our creativity is nurtured till the age of 3, 4. In fact, we nurture till the age of 2.5, then we send them to play school. That gets skilled there, completely executed by the time we come out of engineering. Understand patterns, relationships, and systems is a very crucial thing for a design thinker. Visualize and show. A design thinker should be in a position to show things clearly. Can't be abstract. So all these things will correlate to leadership later. So what is the skills framework of design thinking? The first framework is explore. He calls it as immersion and inspiration process. Many of you here in this group, I'm sure, would have been students of Muradian sir also. You would have heard Goya from Muradian sir. Go and see is Goya. Get off your, you know what. In Japanese, it is called Genchi Gembutsu. Go to the Gemba and observe what is happening. Gemba is not manufacturing. Gemba is the space where there is fact. I have to go and observe what the customer does. I have to observe what are the challenges the customer is facing. If I'm designing a mattress for camel, I should understand there is one unique requirement for a camel, which is that mattress should be waterproof and easily washable. I can understand it only when I go and immerse myself in the whole process of what the camel caretaker is doing. It comes from empathy. Empathy is, as I already said, 3 A's: aware, articulate, and act. Then you come with create many designs. There is no one solution for a problem. There are many solutions for a problem. We should be very clear about this, and then do a prototyping. But ultimately, it has to be implemented. Implementation has to have many iterations. Fail fast, fail safe. Fail fast, fail safe is a very crucial mantra for design thinking. Details definitely matter. The God is in the detail. So immersion or inspiration, ideation, implementation are the 3 stages or 3 framework of the design thinking. Let us take a very quick example here. If you look at here, there's an youngster who is having 2 mobile phones in the hand, having a charger around that with a backpack, going ahead without even knowing there is something hindrance opposite to him. If I am a person who is a mobile phone manufacturer, when I observe it, what kind of insights I gain out of it, or I can gain out of it? I gained an insight as a mobile phone manufacturer. If people use 2 mobiles, so I'll create a dual SIM. If people are charging very often, therefore I'll do one thing, I'll try to create a remote charging opportunity for me. If people are charging very often, so I'll do one thing, I will see whether I can reduce the energy consumption, because I can't control the battery. Battery is not made by me. Can I reduce the energy consumption in my mobile phone? So you got that super saver mode and all. If I am a battery manufacturer, I start looking at, oh, this guy is charging very often. I have to create a long life battery. If I am a charger manufacturer, I will look at, oh, he's charging 2 things at a time. I will have dual port for that. Or I will create a mechanism of remote charging. If I am a backpack manufacturer, I will start thinking about, hey, can I create a situation, advantage for him by having a port for him in the backpack itself? So how you look at it, your business will come up with a solution for the value which the customer is looking at. Multiple solutions for the same problem. So observation, notice something, and you try to infer this, and then you go for actionable learning about people. It has to be actionable learning. That is what empathy is all about. So you have to jump into the fishbowl to understand what the fish does. That's what my guru, Shoji Shiba, says. Jump into the fishbowl to understand what the fish does. That's what empathy is all about. Let us take a very quick example, and then we'll move on to leadership again. Bunny, don't worry, I'm on track. Okay, another 10 minutes. So this is a shop in, I live in Vashi, Navi Mumbai. This is a shop called Everest Cycling Company in Vashi. Traditional cycling company, you can look at that cycle shop, how dingy it looks like. He had a tough time selling cycles in 2014, 15, 16 because many people went to malls to purchase cycles, high-end cycle like a Shot and all those stuff. At that time, these guys decided we have to do something about it. One of their son-in-laws came back from Saudi Arabia. His name is Qazi. Qazi said, ultimately cycling is for health. So he started promoting cycling as a culture. So 2016, when I purchased cycle for my son, he said, sir, we are having one WhatsApp group. 6 of us are members from the shop. Would you like to join this? We are planning to go for cycling every day. I said, fine, it's a good idea. I also bought one more cycle. I started going for cycling. Within 3 months, the group increased to 3,500 people with multiple WhatsApp groups. And he started selling everything related to cycle. So he started selling jerseys. Even if you come to Vashi or Navi Mumbai, you will find at least 10 or 15 people at any point of time riding cycle wearing his jersey. And he never pushes any product to us. I was riding with him once to Pavane Dam. I asked him, Qazi, I want a padded shorts. He said, sir, I'm not going to take you for a 100-kilometer ride. You don't need it. He's not trying to push anything to me. See, he was selling cycling culture. He was not selling cycle. Proof of the pudding is in eating. Look at this. The second person from the right side is Qazi. The first front one coming in the front is Junaid. Okay, this is the way we typically go with his jersey. We go to this our visit to Pavane Dam. You can see that how it is on the way we took this shot. And this is his Everest Cycling Culture main office now. He gives cycles on rent to try it out, not for test ride rather. Proof of the pudding is in eating. Vashi, Koparkarne, Airoli, Kargar, Seawoods, and then he is having in Palm Beach Road also. The Palm Beach Road shop is pretty huge. Minimum price of cycle is 1.5 lakhs there. And that cycle is not sold in this shop, which is on the left side here in the screen. The proof of the pudding is in eating. And he's very clear about his business. If I had to go to him for repair, he tells very clearly, sir, another person is there in Koparkarni, he does repair. He's a specialist in repair. He doesn't do repair. He sells cycling culture. So design thinking mindset, he defined who his customer is. He's not a kid who is looking for a cycle. Anybody who is health conscious is my customer. What is the value? The value I'm giving the customer is healthy living. And what is our business? Is to spread the culture of cycling. Amazing. Okay. Now let us come to integrating, connecting all the dots of what we saw earlier and what we are seeing now. Very quickly. Interesting. So what is this I'm trying to convey? You cannot make somebody who doesn't have the basic leadership trait to be a leader. He who knows not and knows not he knows not is a fool. Shun him. He who knows not and knows he knows not is simple. Teach him. He who knows and knows not he knows is asleep. Awake him. A leader may be that person. He who knows and knows not he knows. He has to be made into he who knows and knows he knows. He is wise. Follow him. Simba has to have it within him to become the Lion King. For a Chandragupta Maurya, you require a Chanakya. For a Hanuman, you require a Jambavan. It is important for you to identify, you have to act like that Jambavan, or you have to act like that Chanakya to identify the leader in our company and nurture that leader. So, who is that leader? Let me borrow from Horvath. He talks about 4 kinds of strategic thinkers. Strategic thinking is critical for leadership. The first kind of a strategic thinker is what he calls as beach bums, who sit on the beach and then observe what's happening. Not great insights they can gain. Second is snorkelers. They go one step below. They will get some insights, but not very great insights. The third is scuba divers, who get a lot of insights. And the fourth is free divers, who can be in a position to hold their breath for 110 seconds also. 11 minutes also. 11 minutes is something phenomenal. So those are the people who will get great insight. So you need somebody who can be a free diver. I given the YouTube reference of the video. You can have a look at this in the YouTube. He talks about how strategic thinking is a critical skill for a leader. So that means you have to find out whether the leader is a scuba diver, he's having a scuba diver or a snorkeler or a beach bum, or is he really a free diver? We should have the clarity of nurturing that leader. That's what Shiva talks about as jump into the fishbowl. Okay, now let us summarize. This is what we started with. Leaders or dolphin managers. What design thinking can do in this case? 3 things. Design thinking brings in customer centricity. If you are customer centric, you will become long-term focused. Otherwise, you will be absolutely quarterly result focused. Embrace experimentation. It's a critical design thinking skill. A leader has to embrace experimentation to be a long-term thinker. You should not be afraid to fail. I should have that guts of a child to fail. Of course, fail fast, fail safe. And the base for this is vision. You need to have a vision, drishti. Second, lateral thinking or linear thinking. Rapid prototyping is a very, very critical part, which is actually going to be the next big skill for any of us in any organization. COVID is really forcing us to do that a lot. Rapid prototyping is a critical skill of design thinking. And that calls for lateral thinking. Again, embrace experimentation. Understanding patterns is very critical for a design thinker. Again, this is intellect. Learning or repeating what Rahul Dravid said, go and see, Goya, Genchi Gembutsu, jump into the fishbowl, is a very critical skill for a design thinker, which is a very critical skill for a leader as well. Collaborative teamwork, a leader should get things done. Collaborative teamwork is a base, one of the critical skills of design thinking. Empathy, not enough to say about empathy, is crucial for a leader, crucial for design thinking. This is non-depression is the base for this. Mentor or tormentor, you have to have empathy for your next level leaders. You should be human centric and you have to allow them to do mistakes. Like my uncle said, L&T allows me to make mistakes. Implementation skill comes from this. Finally, getting things done, empathy is the basis. How do we delegate to people? I have to empathize with the person to whom I am delegating. Collaborative teamwork and fail fast, fail safe are the critical design thinking skills required for getting things done. And the base for this is implementation skill. But for all these things, the base is dhriti, which is courage. So if you look at the framework of design thinking, exactly enables addressing these crisis situations. Just to repeat the framework, I am modifying the name only, design thinking leadership framework. Explore, go and see your own next level leaders. Empathize with your next level leaders. Create many situations for them to work on. Make prototypes, not of leaders, but of situations. Allow them to do mistakes. Get into details as to where they missed out. And then you create a good leadership framework. Ultimately, it is samatvam. Yoga uchyate. Equanimity is yoga. I think with that, I will conclude my session. Kabra, it is over to you. I am through with my presentation.
And thank you very much, sir, for such a great insight and a great learning.
I'll stop sharing. Or let it be around. Anyway, okay, go ahead.
Well, thank you very much, sir, for great insight and the great learning. I'm sure everyone has learned a lot. There has been questions flooding in. The first question I would like to take from Ashish Shetty. In a process of problem solving, what comes first? System thinking approach or design thinking or combination of both?
I won't say combination of both. I will use an answer which will be an absolutely unacceptable answer. Depends. What I mean by that. It purely depends upon what kind of situation am I facing. Let me give a very simple example for this to appreciate what I mean here. You are a biker. You ride a bike. Am I correct? You could see me on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you stop the presentation, sir?
I will stop the presentation. Yeah, you are right. I will stop sharing. Then we can go into the mode like that. See, you are a biker. You are when you are riding a bike like this. Typically, you are going at 45 degrees here and all those stuff. Am I correct? You maneuver like this and go. Are you stable or are you unstable? You are extremely stable. Because you are extremely stable, you are flexible. Stability is the base for flexibility. rigidity is opposite of flexibility. Suppose you're learning biking for the first time, you'll sit like this and ride like this. You cannot even maneuver. Coming to the point. Systematic approach is extremely critical base for anything. However, what do you mean by stability? Stability is not rigidity. Stability allows you flexibility. Design thinking calls for flexibility. So a design thinking approach is the base for you to look at any problem solving. A system thinking approach is necessary for implementing the solution. That's the way I look at it. I hope I answered it. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Sumit.
Yeah, second from Surya Lakshmi, is design thinking similar to level 5 leader?
You mean the actualization leader, Surya
Yeah.
Lakshmi? Yeah. Again, I won't say that way. See, at any given point of time, a leader is absolutely having a problem at the basic survival level itself. He may not look at actualization. So actualization, it is definitely hierarchy going to happen. So yes, you have to lead towards actualization level. You have to lead towards at level 5, but you should ensure that the base levels are established for your team. Without that, going to level 5 directly is extremely difficult. You cannot sustain that for long. Okay, you have to have the base. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. The third question comes, sir, from Mr. Hulakun. Sir, if I won't get potential leader to train, what is the solution?
Inshallah. Okay. So, if you, see, first and foremost, you are not going to get a leader like Hanuman ever. You are not going to get a leader like Dravid ever. Imagine somebody like a Dravid or a Kumble or Hanuman in the team is something amazing here. We may not get them. We'll get a Venkatapati Raju. The point is, we have to do with what we have. Till such time, we are not able to attract the right talent. If you're able to attract the talent, that's a different issue altogether. But assuming that, Mr. Hulakanji, assuming we are from an SME, we have one advantage which a large organization doesn't have. The advantage is, in a large organization, CEO may quit. In a SME, a CEO will never quit. It's a big advantage we have. And in most of the SMEs, you have somebody called as a loyalist. You may have to identify those loyalists and see whether they have got some traits in that. It is our responsibility to find the traits, and if a trait is there, we have to make it bring out. Good luck.
Well, thank you, sir. The fourth question comes from Ishan Luthra. Sir, which books do you suggest for design thinking and strategic thinking?
Design thinking, there's a book by Tim Brown, IDEO Design Thinking. Maybe, Sumit, if you can quickly do a Google search, you can give that answer to them also. IDEO Design Thinking by, let me just quickly do that. I got the mobile now, I'll do that. That's a very damn good book for design thinking, in fact. IDEO. Okay. IDEO's human-centric design. Okay. You can do a Google search. You will get a lot of books of IDEO. IDEO Design Thinking book itself is there. IDEO Design Thinking book will be a good starting point for you. Strategic thinking, I will suggest you to go back to somebody like Hovrath. It's a good author for strategic thinking.
Okay. Thank you, sir. The fifth question comes from Simar as well. How do we identify a leader in a company who is not reporting to you?
Very tough. See, that's where, let me slightly digress the question and come back to this. See, there's a concept called profit center, which is tried by many organizations. Profit center. So I will try to make even something like a maintenance department a profit center. Hey, but these guys, how do I make it a profit center? Why should I make it as a profit center? One of the intention is to identify the next level managers. We have to have a mechanism of identifying the next level managers. That's where decentralization empowerment is going to become extremely helpful, number one. Number two, COVID has opened up one style of management in organization, which I hope organizations pursue, which is primarily a project approach to management and not a functional silo approach of management. Let me give a very simple example. In early April, I was talking with my friend. He said, "Hey, Hari, I got series of meetings lined up in Zoom. What is that meeting here? First meeting I have with marketing team, second team thing with production team, third with purchase team, like this. I told him, why are you doing this? You're supposed to be meeting with all the teams, one member each for different solutions. He didn't understand what I said. Last week, he called me and said that, hey, I'm using a project approach for handling my situation now. I'm not having functional meetings anymore. I'm having meetings that are essentially cross-functional meetings. So if you have to identify leaders in your organization, you have to create situations for them. There are cases like, you play cricket matches in Hartech also. What is that idea of that? You're having teams. Maybe a worker, maybe actually the captain of one team. You're identifying leadership skills there as well. There are many ways of identifying leadership skills in an organization. There's no one way. Hierarchy is the biggest hindrance for identifying the leadership skill in an organization. Empowered focus groups and teams can help you to identify the skills. Yeah, Sumit.
So one question from my side. In any organization, there are two basic departments. One is on the manufacturing side, the other one is the marketing side. So when you create an incentive structure, right? The marketing side, it is very easy to create on the sales and other structures we can keep. How to create the same motive and incentives for the factory as well, where the many variables are there like input and other things. So how you make both the things as a variable, and at the same time, when as a leadership, I have to view upon, we get the exact incentive structure and we create the equanimity between the marketing guys as well as the manufacturing guy.
See, your question has got no satisfactory answer so far. Okay, let me start with that perspective. But still, I will give you a few answers which people grapple with, and these answers depends upon the context. One solution people try is the concept of profit center, where manufacturing sells their product to marketing. Okay, and when you're implementing something like EVA, it becomes very useful to go for that kind of an approach.
Right.
So that's a very powerful method to identify leaders also. But there is a very big flip side there. The flip side for that is local optimization. People tend to get into local optimization, the global sub-optimization happens. Second approach people attempt is fundamentally is a methodology, something like a balanced scorecard or something like a marrying a quantitative measure, physical quantitative measure with a financial measure. In fact, the model Dakshyam, which I talk about, essentially attempts that. Okay. It creates a cascade starting from the CEO to the plant head. We integrate QFD methodology in that case and then implement it. So where you are able to create a cascade very clearly. You need a cascade. You need a visibility of how this particular thing happens. We call it as catch ball. Catch ball meaning not passing the buck. When you're playing a game, you have to catch the ball. Am I correct?
Right.
So the catch ball is what is required for a performance measurement system. In fact, we should understand the purpose of performance measurement system is twofold. Number one is to implement strategy. Number two is to validate strategy. But in most of the organization, we forget these two.
Right.
We say the purpose of performance is to motivate people to do what? To implement strategy. And unfortunately, Sumit, strategy is for the future, performance is for the past. So there is an inherent anachronism here. Are you getting my point? What I mean, why I said there's no answer specifically? You have to create a context for that concept.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, please go ahead.
Well, I think there are many questions which has been answered by the sir, and it was a great insight and great.
Yeah, I like one question which is like, may I answer only that one?
Yeah, sure. Why not, sir?
Why should we encourage fail fast? Are we not creating short life cycles of design thinking? Alternatively, design thinking waste, killing more metamorphosis? Excellent question, doctor. The point here is that, thanks you asked this question. See, when I say fail fast, fail safe, what does it mean actually is that failing early is better. When you're creating iterations, failing early is better. That's the meaning of fail fast. See, if you keep on accumulating the failure mode, when you do the FMEA, failure mode effect analysis, we actually look at which failures have been created in the earlier design stage, which failures got created in the later design stages. In fact, the one created in the earlier design stage has got a bigger impact in my product later. Therefore, if I can address that faster, that's the meaning of fail fast, fail safe. You need to experiment and test it faster. That's where the whole question of modular structure of design comes in. Okay, I hope I partially answered that, doctor. Okay, Sumit, I'm through.
Sorry. Next question, sir. There are many questions flooded. I hope you don't mind to answer.
I don't mind.
Let's take further. So there's a question from Prashant Doshi. He asks that there are two big challenges for an entrepreneur from his leaders are loyalty and retention. How do you look at it?
You can't buy loyalty. You can't hope people to be with you. See, I also run a small organization. Okay. The people typically leave my company when they're about to get married. Are you getting what I mean here? No? They work with me for 4 or 5 years, then they move on. They have to move on. See, they can't go and tell somebody I'm working in a mid-sized company and then it's not going to sell in the marketplace there, in the marriage marketplace typically. So there are challenges for SMEs in that sense. That's what I was talking about. Can you look at the loyalists in your company? There are loyalists in our company. Identify them and nurture them. That is one. That challenge has to be looked at in that context. Let us look at carefully. Even in larger organization, retention doesn't happen. In fact, we have an advantage of an SME is that we are able to decide faster. And design thinking calls for empowered teams. And that's where we fail, actually. What we do is we expect every decision to come to us. Even the simple decision like should I get an internet connection to my employee or not at home has to come to me. It's not going to work that way. Somewhere the delegation has to come in. In fact, I distinctly remember one observation made by a person called Mr. Kamaraj, who founded a company called Ramaraj Cotton. Some of you might have heard about this Ramaraj Cotton. If you go to any of the airport in Tamil Nadu, you'll find one Ramaraj Cotton outlet there. Normally, dhoti wearing was considered to be only for politicians and not for anybody else. And Ramaraj started selling dhoti as a pride product. He's having Ashwin as a brand ambassador these days. So Ramaraj, I listened to one of his presentations long time back. He said that first 10 years, I was running my company. The second 10 years, my people were running the company. The third 10 years, my systems are running my company. I have people to support it. It's an amazing, earthy observation he made. We need systems not for larger organization. We need systems for creating large organizations. That's what I said. Systematic thinking is important. But the flip side is what it kills lateral thinking, I said. So therefore, retention comes if an organization grows. Loyalty comes from the way you handle people. Okay, yeah, please.
So there's one more question from Sharanjit Singh. Hi, sir. Look, you said it's always good to have leaders in the team. What is your thought to develop 2 to 3 leaders in a team to have a healthy competition? Or sometime it can backfire also.
Interesting. A leader fundamentally is a person who doesn't care about who gets the credit. So long as you don't care who gets the credit, leaders get developed. Mike Jenner was the coach of Royal Challengers Bangalore. At that time, Kumble was the captain. And Mike Jenner made an observation. If only everybody in the world is like Kumble, the world will be a peaceful place to live in. The point is, intention of creating leaders is not to identify competition between guys and identify him to be the next MD. The person at the second level can be a leader. You take the case of Sourav Ganguly's team. There are many leaders in that team. A leader is a good follower as well. A leader is the one who is empowered to take decision at the ground level. Right? So when we create a competition and we call it as a competition, and we nurture it as a competition, we are not going to retain all the leaders. We need to retain all the leaders. Why do we rate that team of early 2000 to be one of the best Indian cricket teams ever? It's because the team had full of leaders. Javagal Srinath used to take it upon himself for communicating to people before they get into the ground. That was his role. A clearly defined role for him as a leader there. When a bowler is bowling, he is the leader of that pack at that point of time. So it's not like leader is going to be one person. Why did I take Hanuman as a leader? Everybody knows Hanuman as an implementer, as a follower. Am I correct? Right. Why did I call him as a leader? He is a leader. Otherwise, he cannot be a great follower. He was empowered. He was taking decisions. We need people to take decisions at the ground level. It is not a competition we are creating at the ground level. Having said that, if I have to run an organization, I need to compare 2 people. When I compare 2 people, it always happens that people tend to rise to their level of incompetency and stay there. This is not my statement. It's a statement called Peter Principle, which says that in every hierarchy, people rise to the level of incompetence and remain there. What is the meaning of this? You have 4 people, A, B, C, D. All 4 are equally good. You promote them to the next level. Next level, A is not doing well, B, C, D is doing well. BCD will get promoted, A will remain there. Then goes further, next level B and C is not doing well, D gets promoted. So B and C will get remaining at the level where they are incompetent. People rise to the level of incompetence. Please be clear about this. We are not expecting people to rise to the level of incompetence. That's where developing leaders is important, not managers. Yeah, Sumit.
Yes, sir. The question comes from Amol Shinde. How to handle it towards a gray group as a leader? He's asking like many colleagues to do pull down their leaders through not following an instruction, task, ignorance purposefully. They know their leaders is answerable to the management. Leader done the communication with them as a built-in work, motivation or support on bad time, etc. How to handle it towards a gray group as a leader?
First and foremost is, you remember our Prime Minister Narendra Modi quoted one very old poem in United Nations. You remember that? He was talking about everybody is the world is a citizen. We are all brothers. He quoted from one Kaniyan Pungundranar, Yadum Bure Yavarum Kelir. That's a word he said. He didn't say the second statement in that poem. The second statement is a very powerful statement. I will say it in Tamil and then I will translate English. Second statement is Tidum Nandrum Pirar Taravara. Bad or good is not given by somebody else. Bad or good is given by us. When I say that I am not able to handle those persons, that I am not capable. Let us look at that. Let us look at what is in our control. So how do we train our kids? I train my sons very clearly. When my kids were small kids, when they fall down, I go and slap the floor and then beat the floor. My sons are very clear. Oh, if something happens, I should put the blame on something on which I don't have any control. Very well training I have given to my sons to pass the buck, not pass the ball. So if I am looking at leadership, a leadership has to own the responsibility. It is for me to nurture the team. I can't blame it on the team. Okay. So therefore, to a great extent, it depends on the leader, in my opinion. Till Mr. T.N. Seshan came, nobody knew what that particular organization is supposed to do, right? I'm talking about election commission. It used to be an organization which announces election. Till T.N. Seshan came, he came with the same system, he came with the same babus, he came with the same hierarchy, but he created a huge change in the whole organization itself, right? That's a leader. Can't blame the system. Yeah, Sumit.
I think we are done with question and answer. Just to share one example, Mr. Kyokan, to your answer. Question, we also when started RR Kavel with 21 years, it was the same situation for us. Our all peers were 25, 30 years old. And you won't believe we never started with the right person at that time. It was the sir what we explained as a courage, what we are today after 21 years and fighting with top all the competitors and being in the top 3 in India. It was not easy. You won't believe we started with a fresh team. We never got a single experienced guy. It was all experiments, enhancement we did, and the courageous decision which we took that time, and we are here today. I will just give you one example. There was one helper who was with us. Today, we by breaking up him as a leader and training him, one person, he's doing our Surat branch and he's doing a turnover of 100 crores a year. So look at the example. It's not necessary you will have a right person at right time. It's about your own leadership and training to that person and giving them opportunities and the platform which will bring them here. And this is the way you can create leaders from your existing also team as well. Don't look for the opportunities outside. I feel there are goods and bads in every people. It's up to you as a leader who can see the strength of that person and inculcate the best ownership, leadership opportunities for him to grow for the organization. Well, I think it was a great session. We have learned about leadership. We have learned about innovation. We have learned about design thinking. For a closing remark, sir, what you would like to say in last?
See, there is no limit to learning. Only one statement I will make. With that, I will wind up this discussion, right? One of the motivating statement for me ever was a statement of John Maxwell, okay, which has become the tagline for Emirates Airlines. When is the last time you did something for the first time? When is the last time you did something for the first time? If you can answer that question today, I think you are in the right path for being a leader. I hope it answers, right, Sumit?
Yeah, sir. Very well.
Like Moradian sir says, look at that man in the mirror and ask him that question. Did you do anything new today? If you haven't done anything new today, I think you wasted a day. It's very crucial.
Absolutely.
I hope that will be the last line I would like to say.
Well, thank you very much, sir. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, all the audiences who attended this. I'm sure it was a great learning for all of us, how to make a great meritocracy culture, how to keep a self-motivated culture, how to keep a leadership culture in your organization. Thank you very much for attending. Thank you very much, Hariharan sir. See you all Sunday. We're meeting Menon sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sumit. Great organization, Simar. It was a phenomenal work by Bunny as well. Thank you so much for the whole team to make it.